Let's dive into a topic that's close to home for so many of us. Keeping our food fresh and safe, especially as we get older and want to stay healthy and vibrant. Have you ever opened your fridge, pulled out something you thought was perfectly fine, only to find it's gone bad faster than you expected? It's frustrating, isn't it? You're not alone, and it's not just about wasting food. It can actually affect your health, especially for those of us over 60. Our bodies sometimes need a little extra care, and the last thing we want is to eat something that's gone off because of a storage mistake. Today, I'm going to walk you through a topic that's going to save you time, money, and maybe even a trip to the doctor. Foods you should never store in the fridge because they spoil faster and could harm your health. You might be thinking, wait, the fridge is supposed to keep things fresh, right? Well, that's true for a lot of foods, but not everything. Some foods actually lose their flavor, texture, or nutrients when they're chilled. And worse, some can go bad faster or even harbor bacteria that could make you feel under the weather. For seniors, avoiding foodborne illness is extra important because our immune systems might not bounce back as quickly as they used to. Plus, nobody wants to deal with an upset stomach or worse when we're trying to enjoy our days. In this video, we're going to cover 8 foods that you should keep out of the fridge to keep them fresh, safe, and delicious. I'll explain why each one doesn't belong in there, share some easy storage tips, and give you practical ways to make sure you're eating the best quality food possible. Let's get started with the first food on our list, and trust me, this one might surprise you. First up, tomatoes. I know. Tomatoes in the fridge seem like a no-brainer. They're a staple in so many kitchens, whether you're slicing them up for a sandwich, tossing them into a salad, or making a hearty pasta sauce. But here's the thing. Storing tomatoes in the fridge is one of the quickest ways to ruin their flavor and make them go bad faster. When you put tomatoes in the cold, it messes with their natural sugars and acids, turning that juicy, vibrant taste into something mealy and bland. The texture gets mushy, and they can start to break down faster, especially if they're not fully ripe yet. For seniors, this is a big deal, not just because nobody wants a tasteless tomato, but because mushy or overripe tomatoes can attract mold or bacteria, which can be risky if your digestion or immune system is a bit sensitive. So, what should you do instead? Keep your tomatoes on the counter, away from direct sunlight. A cool, dry spot in your kitchen is perfect. If you've got a bowl or a basket, pop them in there where air can circulate around them. This keeps them fresh and flavorful for longer, sometimes up to a week or two, depending on how ripe they are. If you've already cut a tomato, wrap the leftovers tightly in plastic wrap or put them in an airtight container, but still try to use them within a day or two. One tip I love is to check your tomatoes every couple of days. Give them a gentle squeeze. If they're starting to feel soft, use them up in a soup or sauce before they go bad. This way, you're getting all the flavor and nutrition without any waste or worry. Now, let's move on to another kitchen favorite, onions. If you're like me, you've probably got a bag of onions sitting in your fridge right now, thinking that's the best place to keep them fresh. But here's the truth. Onions don't like the fridge at all. The cold, humid environment makes them soft, mushy, and even moldy faster than you'd expect. Onions need air circulation to stay firm and fresh, and the moisture in your fridge is their worst enemy. Plus, when onions get damp, they can start to sprout or develop a slimy texture, which not only tastes bad, but can also harbor bacteria. For those of us over 60, eating spoiled food can lead to stomach issues or worse, and we want to avoid that at all costs. Instead, store your onions in a cool, dry, well-ventilated spot like a pantry or a mesh bag hanging in your kitchen. Those net bags you get at the grocery store? They're perfect for this. Just make sure the onions aren't crowded or near potatoes. Potatoes give off moisture and a gas that can make onions spoil faster. If you've already peeled or chopped an onion, you can put the leftovers in a sealed container in the fridge, but try to use them within a few days. A little trick I use is to keep my onions in a dark corner of my pantry, and I check them every week to make sure none are getting soft or sprouting. This way, they can last for weeks, even months. and they're always ready for your next recipe without any health risks. Another food that doesn't belong in the fridge is garlic. I bet a lot of you have a few garlic bulbs tucked away in the crisper drawer, thinking it's the safest spot. But just like onions, garlic needs air and a dry environment to stay fresh. The fridge's cold and moisture can make garlic cloves soft, rubbery, or even moldy, and nobody wants that garlicky goodness to go to waste. Moldy garlic can also be a health concern, especially if you're not noticing those tiny green sprouts or soft spots that can hide bacteria. For seniors, keeping food safe is key, and storing garlic wrong can lead to food waste or even a tummy ache that could have been avoided. The best way to store garlic is in a cool, dry place with good air circulation. A small basket or a paper bag on your counter or in your pantry works great. You want to avoid plastic bags or sealed containers because they trap moisture and speed up spoilage. If you've got a garlic bulb that's starting to sprout, don't toss it just yet. Those green shoots are edible and can add a mild garlic flavor to soups or stir-fries. Just make sure the rest of the bulb is firm and free of mold. I like to keep my garlic in a little clay pot with holes in it. It's cute, practical, and keeps my garlic fresh for weeks. By storing it right, you'll have flavorful garlic ready for your favorite dishes without any worry about spoilage. So, we've covered tomatoes, onions, and garlic, 3 foods that are probably in your kitchen right now, and that you might be storing wrong. Keeping these out of the fridge will save you money, keep your meals delicious, and most importantly, help you avoid any health risks that come with spoiled food. But we're not done yet. There are a few more foods that could be causing trouble in your fridge, and I'm excited to share what they are and how to store them properly to keep you feeling your best. All right, let's keep this conversation going and dive into a few more foods that you might be storing in your fridge without realizing they're better off somewhere else. We've already talked about how tomatoes, onions, and garlic can lose their flavor or even spoil faster in the cold, and how that can be a bigger deal for those of us over 60 when it comes to staying healthy. Now let's move on to some other kitchen staples that could be causing trouble if they're chilling in your fridge. These next foods are ones we use all the time, and I bet you'll be surprised to learn they don't belong in there. Let's get to it and make sure your kitchen is set up for fresh, safe, and delicious meals. First up is bread. I can almost hear you saying, but I've always kept my bread in the fridge to make it last longer. Trust me, I get it. It seems like the fridge would keep that loaf of whole wheat or sourdough fresh for weeks. But here's the problem. Bread doesn't do well in cold temperatures. The fridge actually speeds up the process that makes bread go stale, turning it dry, tough, and chewy. That's because the cold causes the starches in bread to recrystallize faster, sucking out the moisture and leaving you with a loaf that's not so great for sandwiches or toast. For seniors, this isn't just about losing that soft, fresh texture. Stale or moldy bread can be harder to chew or digest, and if it starts growing mold due to the fridge's humidity, it could cause stomach upset or worse. So, where should you store your bread? Keep it on the counter in a cool, dry place, ideally in a bread box or a paper bag to let it breathe. If you're not going to eat it within a few days, pop it in the freezer instead. That's the best way to preserve it long-term without ruining the texture. Just slice it up first so you can grab a piece or two whenever you need it. Thaw it at room temperature or toss it in the toaster, and it'll taste just as good as fresh. A little trick I use is to wrap my bread loosely in a clean cloth before putting it in the bread box. It keeps it from drying out too fast while still letting air circulate. Check your bread every couple of days for any signs of mold, especially if you live in a humid area, and you'll keep it fresh and safe to enjoy. Next, let's talk about avocados. These creamy, nutrient-packed fruits are a favorite for so many of us, whether you're spreading them on toast or whipping up a quick guacamole. But if you're storing avocados in the fridge as soon as you bring them home, you might be doing more harm than good. Unripe avocados, those firm green ones, need warmth to ripen properly, and the fridge's cold temperature slows that process way down. Even ripe avocados can lose their creamy texture in the fridge, becoming hard or developing an off taste. Worse, if they're not stored right, Avocados can get moldy or slimy faster in the fridge's humid environment, and that's a health risk we want to avoid, especially when our bodies might be a little more sensitive to spoiled food. The trick with avocados is to store them based on their ripeness. Keep unripe avocados on the counter in a paper bag to help them ripen faster. Adding an apple or banana to the bag can speed things up even more, because those fruits give off a natural gas that helps ripening. Once your avocado is ripe and soft to the touch, you can store it in the fridge for a day or two if you're not ready to eat it, but don't leave it in there too long. If you've cut into an avocado, brush the exposed part with a little lemon juice to prevent browning, wrap it tightly in plastic wrap, and use it within a day. My go-to tip is to check my avocados daily by giving them a gentle squeeze. If they're just right, I plan to use them that day to enjoy that perfect creamy texture without any waste or worry. Another food that's better off outside the fridge is honey. I know a lot of us keep that jar of golden sweetness in the fridge to keep it fresh, but honey is a natural preservative, and it doesn't need the cold at all. In fact, refrigerating honey can make it crystallize faster, turning it into a gritty, hard-to-spoon mess. Those crystals aren't harmful, but they make it less pleasant to use, and if you're not careful, moisture from the fridge can sneak into the jar, which could lead to fermentation or spoilage over time. For those of us over 60, avoiding any unnecessary risks with food is key, and a spoiled jar of honey could cause digestive issues if it's not stored properly. Instead, keep your honey in a cool, dry spot in your pantry, tightly sealed to keep out moisture and ants. A cupboard away from the stove or any heat source is perfect. If your honey does crystallize, don't toss it. Just place the jar in a bowl of warm water and stir until it's smooth again. I love keeping my honey in a glass jar with a tight lid on a shelf where I can see it. It's always ready for a drizzle on oatmeal or a spoonful in tea. Just make sure to use a clean spoon every time to avoid introducing water or crumbs, and your honey will stay safe and delicious for years, literally. So we've tackled bread, avocados, and honey. 3 more foods that you might be storing in the fridge without realizing they're better off somewhere else. By keeping these out of the cold, you're not only preserving their flavor and texture, but also making sure they stay safe for you to enjoy, which is so important as we prioritize our health. There are a couple more foods left to cover, and I can't wait to share the final tips to help you keep your kitchen stocked with fresh, healthy ingredients. Let's keep this kitchen conversation rolling and wrap up our list of foods that don't belong in your fridge. We've already covered some big surprises like tomatoes, onions, garlic, bread, avocados, and honey, and I hope you're already thinking about where you store these in your own home. For those of us over 60, keeping our food fresh and safe is so important. Not just to avoid waste, but to make sure we're eating things that keep us feeling strong and healthy. The last 2 foods on our list are ones you might not think twice about tossing in the fridge, but they're much better off somewhere else. Plus, I'll share a few final thoughts to tie this all together and leave you feeling confident about keeping your kitchen in tip-top shape. Let's dive into the final foods and make sure you're set for success. First up is potatoes. I bet a lot of you have a bag of spuds sitting in your fridge right now, thinking it's the best way to keep them fresh for those hearty mashed potatoes or crispy fries. But here's the deal. Potatoes and fridges don't mix well. The cold temperature in your fridge turns the starches in potatoes into sugars, which not only changes their flavor, making them taste oddly sweet, but can also make them gritty or mealy when you cook them. Even worse, those sugars can form harmful compounds when potatoes are cooked at high temperatures, like frying or roasting, and for seniors, we want to avoid anything that could mess with our digestion or overall health. Plus, the fridge's humidity can make potatoes sprout or get moldy faster, and nobody wants to deal with a slimy spud. So where do potatoes belong? Store them in a cool, dark, and dry place with good air circulation, like a pantry or a cellar. A paper bag or a basket works great to keep them from getting too moist. Just make sure they're not near onions, as we mentioned earlier, because onions give off a gas that can make potatoes spoil faster. If you notice any sprouts or green spots, cut those off before cooking, as they can be bitter and potentially upsetting to sensitive stomachs. My favorite tip is to keep my potatoes in a burlap sack in a cool corner of my pantry. It keeps them fresh for weeks, and I check them every so often to make sure they're still firm. This way, you'll have perfect potatoes ready for your next meal without any health risks. The last food on our list is bananas. These sunny fruits are a go-to for a quick snack or a smoothie, but if you're storing them in the fridge, you might be speeding up their spoilage. Bananas are tropical fruits, and they love warmth. Putting them in the fridge can cause something called chill injury, where the skin turns black and the fruit inside gets mushy or develops an off flavor. While the fridge might slow ripening for some fruits with bananas, it can make them go bad faster or make them unpleasant to eat. For those of us over 60, eating spoiled or off-tasting bananas could lead to digestive discomfort, and we want to keep our snacks safe and enjoyable. Instead, keep your bananas on the counter in a spot away from direct sunlight. If they're ripening too fast and you're not ready to eat them, you can hang them on a banana hook to improve air circulation and slow things down a bit. If they're getting too ripe, don't toss them. Peel them, pop them in a freezer bag, and freeze them for smoothies or banana bread. I love keeping a bowl of bananas on my kitchen table. It adds a pop of color, and I check them daily to catch them at their perfect ripeness. If you've got a banana that's starting to brown, mash it up with some yogurt for a quick, healthy treat. Storing them right keeps them delicious and safe, so you can enjoy every bite. Now that we've gone through all 9 foods, tomatoes, onions, garlic, bread, avocados, honey, potatoes, and bananas, you're probably seeing your fridge in a whole new light. These foods might seem like they belong in the cold, but keeping them out means they'll stay fresher, taste better, and most importantly, be safer for you to eat. For those of us over 60, little changes like this can make a big difference. We're not just saving money by avoiding food waste. We're also taking care of our health by reducing the risk of eating something that's gone off. It's all about making our lives easier and our meals more enjoyable. Think about your own kitchen for a moment. Have you been storing any of these foods in the fridge? Maybe it's time to do a quick check and move them to a better spot. Small tweaks like these can add up, giving you more energy and peace of mind knowing you're eating the best quality food possible. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know which of these surprised you the most, or if you've got any storage tips of your own to share. Your experiences could help someone else in our community, and I'm all about learning from each other. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps us reach more people who could use these tips. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more practical advice to keep you feeling your best at any age. We're all about making life simpler, healthier, and more joyful, and I'm so glad you're here with me. Here's to keeping our kitchens stocked with fresh, delicious food and living our best lives every single day.